You just watched 47 videos about productivity, learned 3 life-changing habits, and now, you remember absolutely nothing. Sound familiar? Here's why your brain is basically a leaky bucket when you're on social media. Why your brain forgets everything you learn while scrolling on social media, and what you can actually do about it. The average person spends over 2.5 hours scrolling social media every single day. That's 17 hours a week. But here's the kicker. Most of it evaporates from memory within seconds. In 1885, psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered the forgetting curve. Without reinforcement, we forget 70% of new information within 24 hours. On social media, that number is even worse, because we were never really paying attention in the first place. Every like, comment, and notification triggers a tiny dopamine hit. Your brain loves this. So it keeps pulling you back, not to learn, but to chase that next little chemical reward. Learning? That can wait. Studies suggest the average human attention span has dropped to around 8 seconds, shorter than a goldfish. Social media trains your brain to expect constant novelty. Anything longer than a reel? Your brain is already reaching for the skip button. There are 2 ways to learn, passively and actively. Scrolling is the ultimate passive experience. Your eyes move but your brain is barely engaged. It's like trying to absorb a book by sleeping on top of it. For a memory to stick, your brain needs to file it properly, connecting it to existing knowledge, emotions, and context. But when you're scrolling at 100 miles per hour, it all just lands in the junk drawer. And junk drawers get cleaned out. The human brain was never designed to process the volume of information social media delivers. We evolved to handle a village's worth of information per day. Now we're getting a city's worth, in one bathroom scroll. Here's the brutal loop your brain gets stuck in: you see something interesting. You feel the reward of discovery. Then the algorithm immediately serves you something even more interesting, and the previous thing is wiped. Rinse and repeat, forever. Your working memory, the brain's short-term RAM, can only hold about 4 items at once. Every new piece of content you consume while scrolling literally pushes out the previous one. It's a conveyor belt, not a storage room. Memories aren't recorded, they're constructed. For information to encode into long-term memory, you need focused attention. Without it, knowledge never even gets through the door. It's not that you forgot, it was never stored. Every time you switch from learning to checking social media and back, there's a cognitive switching cost. It takes up to 23 minutes to fully regain focus after a distraction. If you check your phone 10 times while studying, you never actually studied. Familiarity feels like knowledge, but it isn't. When you scroll through educational content and it feels familiar, your brain tricks you into thinking you've learned it. Psychologists call this the illusion of knowing. It's fake confidence. Shallow processing, skimming content without deep engagement, leaves almost no trace in long-term memory. Deep processing, questioning, connecting, explaining, is what actually creates lasting knowledge. Social media is architected for shallow. It profits from it. Here's the part that hurts: sleep is when your brain transfers information from short-term to long-term memory. Blue light from screens suppresses melatonin and disrupts this process. Night scrolling doesn't just waste time, it actively erases what you tried to learn that day. Stress hormones like cortisol don't just make you feel bad, they physically impair memory formation. And social media? It's a stress machine. Rage bait, comparison, FOMO, outrage. All of it floods your system with cortisol and tanks your ability to remember anything meaningful. The hippocampus is your brain's memory hub. Research suggests chronic screen exposure, especially late-night blue light, can reduce hippocampal volume over time. You're literally shrinking the part of your brain responsible for learning. That's not a metaphor, that's neuroscience. Multitasking isn't a skill, it's a myth. The human brain cannot truly focus on two cognitive tasks at once. What you're actually doing is rapidly switching attention, doing each thing poorly. The educational video you watched while scrolling. You absorbed roughly 20% of it. When you see content that triggers social comparison, someone more successful, thinner, richer, happier, your brain hijacks its resources to process that emotional threat. There's literally less mental bandwidth left for learning. Comparison isn't just depressing. It's cognitively expensive. Your brain prioritizes emotional memory, it's a survival mechanism. So when you scroll through emotionally charged content, outrage, beauty, drama, it monopolizes your hippocampus. The factual, educational content you just watched gets bumped by the drama that followed it. The algorithm isn't designed to educate you. It's designed to maximize your time on the platform. Every video that keeps you watching is rewarded, even if it's mindless. Educational content that makes you pause and think. The algorithm interprets that hesitation as disinterest. And moves on. The spacing effect is one of the most powerful learning discoveries in cognitive science. Reviewing information at gradually increasing intervals, today, tomorrow, next week, next month, dramatically improves long-term retention. Social media has zero spacing. It's all cramming, all the time. Active recall, the act of retrieving information from memory without looking at it, is the single most effective learning technique we know of. But it requires effort and discomfort. Social media is the opposite, maximum ease, minimum retention. Your brain grows from struggle, not from scrolling. Writing notes by hand forces your brain to process, summarize, and reformulate information, all deep processing activities. Studies show handwritten notes produce better learning than typed ones, and both obliterate passive watching. If you can't explain it in your own words, you don't know it yet. Richard Feynman's technique, explain what you learned to a complete beginner. The moment you stumble, that's your knowledge gap. Fill it. Explain again. This process forces your brain to build real, deep understanding, not the surface-level familiarity that scrolling creates. Your brain isn't built for marathon focus sessions. Cycle, 20 to 25 minutes of distraction-free focus, then a short break with no screens. This matches your brain's natural ultradian rhythm, the 90-minute focus-rest cycle. Work with your brain's design, not against it. Mindful consumption means having a reason before you open any app. What are you looking for? How long will you be there? Most scrolling sessions start with no intention and end an hour later with a vague feeling of emptiness. Intention is the antidote. If you're going to learn from social media, schedule it deliberately. 2 20-minute blocks. One morning, one afternoon, for consuming educational content. Phones away during everything else. Constraints feel limiting, but they force your brain to treat the content as important, not disposable. Single tasking is the closest thing to a cognitive superpower that exists. When you focus on one thing at a time, no phone, no notifications, no background content, your brain can actually process, encode, and file what it's learning. Boring to watch. Incredibly effective. Your brain's default mode network, the part that generates creativity, consolidates memory, and processes complex ideas, only activates when you're doing nothing. Every time you reach for your phone out of boredom, you're shutting down this incredibly powerful mental process. Cal Newport's concept of deep work, cognitively demanding tasks performed in a state of distraction-free concentration. This produces real value, real skill, real learning. Compare this to social media. Shallow, reactive, and leaving nothing lasting in its wake. Both can fill an afternoon. Only one builds a life. Here's a reframe: forgetting isn't failure. Your brain actually prunes unneeded memories to stay efficient. The problem isn't forgetting, it's never creating the conditions for something to be worth remembering. Repetition, emotion, application, these signal to your brain, this one matters. Keep it. Spaced repetition software like Anki uses algorithms to show you information at exactly the moment you're about to forget it, maximizing memory consolidation with minimum effort. The irony, this is the one algorithm you should let control your time. Unlike social media's algorithm, it actually makes you smarter. Memory is associative, new information sticks when it hooks onto existing knowledge. When you scroll passively, you never pause to ask, how does this connect to what I already know? That question is the hook. Without it, information has nothing to attach to and simply drifts away. The human brain is wired for story. Information delivered in narrative form is 22 times more memorable than dry facts, because it engages emotion, sequence, and context simultaneously. When you're learning, wrap what you're studying in a story. Or find the human story behind the fact. During sleep, specifically REM and slow-wave sleep, your brain replays the day's experiences, decides what to keep, and transfers knowledge to long-term memory. This is why sleeping on it actually works. And why watching another episode before bed costs you more than just sleep time. Exercise triggers BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, sometimes called miracle grow for the brain. It promotes the growth of new neurons and improves memory formation. Even a 20-minute walk before studying significantly boosts retention. Your brain learns better when your body has moved. End-of-day journaling forces retrieval practice, you're pulling memories out and rewriting them, which strengthens the neural pathways. Just 5 minutes of writing "What did I learn today?" before bed does more for retention than an hour of rereading. And it signals to your brain, this was worth keeping. Here's the brutal math, you cannot grow from information you never use. Consumption without production is just entertainment. Every skill you have came from output, from doing, making, writing, saying, building. Input is the raw material. Output is where the learning actually happens. This is the part nobody wants to say out loud. Social media platforms profit when you forget. If content satisfied you completely, you'd stop scrolling. The platforms need you perpetually hungry. Perfectly memorable content would eat into their engagement metrics. The forgetting is a feature, not a bug. Behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner discovered that variable reward schedules, unpredictable rewards, are the most addictive reinforcement pattern that exists. Slot machines use this. And so does every social media feed ever built. Every scroll is a pull of the lever. And your brain can't look away. Social media delivers the headline. The thumbnail. The hook. It promises depth and delivers surface. A 60-second video on any complex topic is not learning, it's an introduction to an introduction. Real mastery requires the map, not the postcard. And maps take time to read. Reading produces better retention than passive video watching, because it forces your brain to construct images and meanings rather than passively receive them. Watching something while also scrolling. You drop to the bottom of the scale. If you're going to watch to learn, treat it like a class. Not background noise. Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000-hour rule applies to practice, not consumption. You cannot watch your way to mastery. You cannot scroll your way to expertise. Every hour spent watching someone else do something is an hour not spent doing it yourself. The brain learns from feedback, not from footage. Want to truly learn something from social media? Create content about it. Write a thread. Film an explanation. Make a graphic. The act of translating your half-formed understanding into something communicable forces your brain to identify gaps, fill them, and encode the knowledge permanently. Create more than you consume. Productivity expert Tiago Forte popularized the concept of a second brain, an external system where you capture and organize everything you're learning. This takes the storage pressure off your biological memory and lets your brain do what it's actually great at. Making connections and generating ideas. Welcome to the attention economy, a $500 billion industry built entirely on capturing your focus and selling it to advertisers. Your attention is the product. Your time is the inventory. Every notification is a hook designed by teams of neuroscientists and behavioral psychologists to pull you back. The most radical act you can do: want your attention back. Here's your action plan. 1. Schedule intentional learning time. 2. Take handwritten notes. 3. Practice active recall. 4. Use spaced repetition. 5. Create content about what you learn. 6. Protect your sleep. 7. Exercise before studying. 8. Journal at night. 9. Put the phone away more than you think you need to. Here's the most ironic ending possible: the best way to remember what you just learned in this video is to close the app, find a quiet moment, and write down the 3 things that hit you hardest. Not a screenshot. Not a share. Write it. Your brain will thank you. And it might actually stick this time.